Sports teaches you character. It teaches you to play by the rules. It teaches you to know what it feels like to win and lose. It teaches you about life. Billie Jean King.
Welcome to Gal's Guide to the Galaxy. Your host, Lisa Leo, leads a roundtable in the universe to discuss women in music, literature, science, and more. Warning, time travel is possible.
Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm your host, Lisa Leo. If our opening quote from one of the world's greatest tennis champions is any clue, today is all about sports. Now, the word sports sounds so vague, doesn't it? But how else can one possibly describe something that encompasses so much? From the more obvious football and baseball to the lesser-known sports that you may have only heard of while watching coverage of the Olympics. Sports are a part of the global community. And while the sports industry has been dominated by male athletes, it's important to recognize the gals who fought against sexism, racism, pay gaps, and stereotypes just for the right to participate. They broke records and they became champions. There is an endless list of female athletes to admire. We could never cover all of them in one episode, and that's a good thing. It's because the list continues to grow. There is truly no end in sight for what women in the world of sports can accomplish. So today, we're merely scratching the surface of these gal champions. But before we do so, I must introduce my teammates for this episode. If you listened to episode 1, which I hope you did, you will recognize both voices. Up first is an art athlete. Her sport, painting. It's Bonnie Fillenwarth.
Hello.
How are you, Bonnie?
Good. We gotta come up with a team name.
Yeah, gotta think of something clever. Happy to have you back again.
Thanks for having me.
Great. So, would you like to share your experience with sports? Did you have anything you played growing up?
I played softball and basketball growing up.
Nice. How many years was that for each?
Basketball was just one season, but softball was like third grade to high school. It was the Optimist League or whatever, so everybody got in, and everybody got a trophy.
Oh, nice. So between the two, I'm going to assume softball was your favorite?
Yeah.
Okay. You tried the basketball out for the season, and that was it?
Well, that was back when I had my growth spurt first, so I was the tall rebounder, and then everyone else caught up.
Nice. And up next is a woman with a true passion for Title IX. It's Dr. Leah Leach.
Hello. Yes, I do love that Title IX.
And that's obviously just a little teaser, folks. We are definitely going to dive into that very shortly. Leah, why don't you tell us about your experience in sports?
I don't have a whole bunch, but I did try out for tennis. I do kind of feel like it was a whim that I tried out for tennis. I didn't give it my all. It was kind of like I was trying not to make it on the team on purpose. I really felt self-sabotage. I didn't want to commit, but I wanted to try. And it's like, if you're not really trying, then what are you doing? So that was ridiculous. But I did like playing baseball when it was just for fun, when it was just with other kids in the neighborhood, in the backyard sort of thing. But my favorite sport is car racing. And I feel like I should never actually try it, because I don't know what will happen if I go unhinged in a car. It could be dangerous for everyone.
Yes, and it's dangerous to begin with. So
it kind of is. My dad and my uncles did amateur dirt track racing, so I would always watch it. So I always thought it was, really fun, and I wanted to, but at the same time, it's also an expensive hobby.
Yes.
So I'm like, maybe not. Maybe I'll just watch it and enjoy it.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, I can say full disclosure, I have very limited experience with traditional sports.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in elementary school, I would much rather sit in the classroom and sharpen pencils than play in PE class. And I think a big part of it for me was, when I was growing up, there was a lot of very strong athletes in school that, you know, they were the boys. And at that age, when you're in elementary school, they could be kind of a bully if you're not good.
Yeah, you have to be like really good, right?
Yeah. And anytime, I think the worst was capture the flag. I hated when we had to do, I literally would go into like a panic because I was like, I'm so bad at this. And I was so intimidated. And the kids that were not good always got bullied. It was like, you know, they'd start calling you names and you're so stupid. You're so slow, you know?
Right.
So over time, I kind of just got this scarred, like, oh, I don't want to do this.
This is not for
fun.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. But what I did have an interest in was dance.
Nice.
And I started doing ballet and eventually point, tap, jazz, all that kind of stuff, which is what eventually led me into getting into theater in general. But for me, I'd say, you know, I didn't idolize traditional athletes. And I think until a few years ago is when I finally realized that dancers are athletes.
Oh, totally.
You know, they don't wear cleats and uniforms, but they wear dance shoes and costumes.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. It is a physical feat to be able to do what they do, and they have to train. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think that we've got a pretty well-rounded group of experiences here.
Yes.
So I want to lead into our first conversation with one of the most important topics to gals in sports, and that is Title IX.
Yay!
Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar, Title IX of the Education Amendment Act of 1972 is a federal law that states no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. So, Leah, you wrote a fantastic article on this exact subject.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I adore it.
And that's actually what I want to ask you about. I want to ask about your experience with it, how you kind of became aware of it in the first place, and why you are so passionate about it.
I think I'm so passionate about it because I was aware of it later in life. And I think if I was aware of it earlier in life, I think it would have really been different for me. I didn't discover it until the 40th anniversary of Title IX. ESPN did a documentary series. It was called 9 for 9. They've done it a couple of times actually now, but it was the 40th anniversary of Title IX. And they were explaining what it was, and they were showcasing all these amazing women in various sports and how Title IX, you know, not only affected them, but their sport and then the gals after them. And I just, I really strongly believe in that motto. If you can see it, you can be it. And so we have these wonderful athletes that are out there that started because of a Title IX opportunity, and the groundswell and the ripples that have just come from it. It just really, really makes me passionate because the legislation is also not just about sports. It's about any educational program that is federally funded. So there's so many opportunities in that. And now we've seen it work in sports. So now where else could it go? And I think that's what makes me excited. The opportunity of expanding Title IX to so many other things. I love it.
That's fantastic. And that's a really great point, that it's not just about sports, because right off the bat, my mind went to, you know, the STEM field. So the sciences, and technology and math, and the fields that traditionally girls have been led to believe it's not their strong suit.
Right.
That's, you know, and I always think, like, I wonder how that could have or may have affected me when I was younger, because I grew up with that whole girls aren't good at math, and I basically was like, yeah, I'm bad at math, and
it's
as an
okay.
adult,
it's like
I'm
a pass.
Right, and exactly, and it's just this very complacent attitude that people give, and as an adult, I'm like, who was I kidding? I am good at math.
Right?
Why did I believe that? And I think that this is a law that is so powerful because it seems like it's kind of a behind the scenes way of really impacting, like, history. I mean, we think
Right.
about how many athletes have made it to, win gold medals in the Olympics, and you wonder like how much of an impact something that seems so simple and basic really had
Right.
on paving the way for women that young girls are now being inspired by. And that's incredible.
And I would even add to that too, even if you're not sports inclined. I watch the Olympics every year, and I'm not sports inclined, but when I see an underdog, you know what I mean? And I see them fight for it, and I see them go beyond that field of reason of, you know what, this hurts, maybe you should stop. And they don't stop and they win. Even though I'm not sports inclined, it shows me about life. It shows me, oh, maybe I get a rejection letter from something that I submitted, but I try again. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
even watching anybody in sports is a lesson for trying again and crafting and training and, you know what I mean? Giving effort when you don't think you have anything left in the tank, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
yeah, so it spreads even beyond that. And especially if it's somebody of your own gender, it means
Yes.
a little bit more because you can see yourself represented. It doesn't become just a girl thing, just a guy thing. You know what I mean?
Right. And especially if you think about when you're watching them setting an example of overcoming physical hurdles.
Right.
And then sometimes you think, well, I'm just trying to overcome like a mental block or an emotional hurdle. And not to say that they're any less difficult, but it's pretty powerful motivation when you can see someone like coming back from an injury and winning a gold medal.
Right.
Or, winning whatever, competition that they're in. Bonnie, how about you? Were you familiar with Title IX?
I remember it being talked about in high school. I didn't really know about the 3 different steps of it. I don't know how much it was actually applied in my school.
Oh, look at that.
Like
Oh,
thinking back to high
interesting.
school, 'cause I remember there was a big hubbub about we had football games, and they started up powder puff because they didn't want to let the girls play football.
Oh.
And this was like a flag football thing.
Mm-hmm.
I know we had girls volleyball. I don't think we had boys volleyball.
Oh, all right. See, there, it's because that's Title IX as well.
Yeah.
It should
I
be
think we had
equal to both.
We had
Yeah.
baseball and softball. I think the golf was co-ed, but yeah. But I remember
Interesting.
in the video, the article, they talked about equal opportunity to the like the stadiums and the fields. There's no way that they would have had a Powered Puff game on a Friday night in football season at my school. No way they were going to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Mm.
How about things like uniforms? Were you able to have access to good uniforms?
Oh, I didn't play sports in high school.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think the Powder Puff had uniforms.
Right? Okay.
I think they got the little
See, it all
flags
makes
provided.
sense now.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, Leah, do you have any advice for someone who feels that Title IX is not being properly upheld within their school or their community?
My advice would definitely be to approach a school administrator. So either the coach or who's in charge of the coach. Maybe even just go straight to the principal. You can even go to the school board. So school administrator is vague. You have to use your judgment call, but always go higher than you think you need to.
Yes.
Also tell a parent what's going down because they can also find the emails. They can find the chain of command. There is also the Office of Civil Rights. It is a government agency that makes sure the schools comply. So if you don't want to rat out your school or you don't think your principal is going to care, there is a government agency whose job it is to be the liaison between the school and what's going on to comply with Title IX. And I'll actually even have the direct email address on galsguide.org, just in case.
Excellent. Excellent.
Because it's government and they bury it. Like, they make it really hard to find. And I'm like, really, government? Hold on.
Course. Of course.
Yep.
That's excellent information. Thank you for that.
Not a problem.
All right. Yeah, so I mean, I think Title IX it's a great way to kind of start off what we're talking about today because it kind of is the center of how women have accomplished so much in such a short time. So the next article that we're going to talk about is 2 of the most famous female athletes in the world, and I don't think anyone's going to argue with me on that introduction. It's Venus and Serena Williams.
Yes. I concur.
Yes. I mean, these are incredibly successful women that have become household names. And that's even with people who are clueless about tennis or sports in general. I mean, we all pretty much know them.
Yeah.
And Leah, as you wrote in this article, they are tennis players, Olympians, entrepreneurs, and sisters. So, they're not that busy, I don't think.
They're very busy, but they're awesome at all of it. It's really amazing.
Yes. Yes. And I loved that the title of the article is Inspirational Sisters. I think it's a good place for us to start our conversation. When you were putting this article together, what did you find the most inspiring about the sisters?
I really took value in how they needed each other and how they found inspiration in each other. Because when it came to training and competing and even celebrating, it was not only women working together, it was sisters working together. So it's one of those things where in sport, that's difficult to have two people, you know what I mean, that actually get along, that train together, that work together, let alone have them be sisters. Because, you hear this dynamic of, oh, yeah, sisters fight, sisters compete, and things like that. Venus and Serena are going to change your mind about the dynamic of what it can mean to be, sisters. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Now, Bonnie, do you have any sisters?
No, I am an only child.
Okay.
She says with a smirk on her face.
Leah, I actually meant to ask you as well. Do you have any sisters?
I don't have a sister. I have a brother, but I have two daughters. So, you know what I mean?
Okay.
So I'm kind of combining my rationale with my relationship with my brother, which was hilarious, and then seeing how my daughters interact with each other.
So this is actually really interesting to me because I don't have a sister either.
Oh, none of us have sisters. Look at that.
I have one brother.
Ah.
That's it. So, because I was really thinking a lot about, in the article, you mentioned that they've competed against each other more than 20 times, which, that's astonishing.
Yeah.
Just because one of them is always going to have to lose.
Yeah. Going into it, you know somebody's losing. It's you or your sister.
Right. I imagine how that has to feel for their parents as well. I'm rooting for both of my daughters. Either way, one of them's losing.
Either way, I win.
But I win. Yeah. And I'm trying to imagine how I would handle being in either Venus or Serena's shoes in that experience. How do you think, Bonnie, you would handle that experience? In terms of winning or losing to a sister?
Well, I think on the plus side, they always have someone to play tennis with. So that could always help. But I would think it would be kind of like a friendly competition kind of a thing, like bragging rights, I would hope.
Right.
I would hope it wouldn't get ugly.
Where's the line between the bragging rights and the congratulations?
Yes. Leah, how about you?
Oh, goodness. I mean, I would have to say I'm the type of person who would probably lose to my own sister. And I know this. If I was playing against my brother, I would lose. You know what I mean? Because I would want them to have it more. And so therefore, again, why I'm a terrible tennis player. This keeps coming up in my life of things I, really shouldn't have done. But I mean, it's just, that's just my personality. You know what I mean? And it would be, who does it mean more to? And, I would want to see my sister win.
Yeah, I totally get that. And, of course, I know I'm asking all of us a tough question because we don't actually have a sister to reference.
Right.
So it's a little harder to dig deep into those emotions. But I think for me, I feel like there's always going to be this little tiny emotional bully deep down in the pit of my stomach that's don't be mean to your sister, but don't go easy because
Right.
you want her to win fair and square. I can't imagine how hard that has to be on both of them, but I think that yes, there's obviously the friendly competition, and they probably do learn a lot from it. But it's also got to be interesting because they also probably both know the other's
weaknesses,
playing strategies,
Mm.
their
Oh, yeah,
weaknesses
totally.
and their strengths.
You got to
So
play
I
even
wonder-
harder when you play against your sister. Then,
Ugh.
Yeah. Like, I mean, imagine playing against a mirrored version of yourself almost, like I know my next move.
right?
I thought that was a really interesting thing to question. And the fact that they've done it over 20 times,
Mm-hmm.
that's so incredible. And that also kind of leads into the next thing I was thinking about with them. They have very, very strong work ethics. They're incredibly hardworking, very determined. Can you find ways to relate that and find ways to be inspired by that in your own life? Leah?
Yeah, especially with their injuries. And that was something that surprised me as I was kind of researching the article, because I kept seeing both Venus and Serena, when they would have injuries, they would come back and they'd like win everything. And it was this, this real drive to prove that, they are more powerful than their bodies that are trying to fail them. Don't count us out, because we're coming back. We are not done with this yet. And I really kind of like meditated on that idea, you know what I mean? And I really think it comes down to that life will sometimes bring you down. And it almost brings you down so that you can skyrocket further, like a slingshot, if you will. And so I kind of thought of it that way because, I mean, they had knee injuries. They had, organs that were failing and autoimmune diseases. These were serious things that would take out a variety of different athletes, but they would come back stronger and win all of it. And I think that's what that is. It's, how far down do you have to go? Well, I'm going to go up twice as far. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I took from them. And I don't know if it was intentional or what I needed at the time, but I'll take it.
Yes, definitely. Completely agree. How about you, Bonnie?
I was really inspired by, I think it was Serena and maybe the other one, but she won the Australian Open while she was pregnant.
Yeah,
Like,
Serena.
Yes,
Not
that's Serena.
only
Yes.
like was she busy winning, she was busy growing a person.
No
like-
biggie. Just
Yep.
multitasking.
Like, there's no excuse now for men to ever be like, oh, she can't do that while she's pregnant. It's like, well, Serena Williams won while she was pregnant.
Mhm.
Right.
Have you seen the new commercials where it's Serena narrating and she says, like a mother?
Nice.
Oh, and it's just the way that she
No.
says it.
Ooh.
It's like, oh, you're trying to bring me down like a mother. I'm going to come back
goodness.
like a mother. And I'm like, first my thought was, did Serena just have a kid? Because either way, I'm totally down with this advertisement. And I think it was either Nike or Gatorade. I don't know, but it's a good ad.
And I think to that point, didn't she suffer a lot of just nonsense negative treatment after she had her baby? I mean,
Yeah.
I recall hearing something about her rankings suffered, and it was like nothing more than just because, oh, well, she had a baby, so
Right.
like there were assumptions being made about that. And I guess she has once again continued to prove people wrong there.
Pretty much. She, I believe just recently won everything again. And I say everything because I don't know all the different slam titles.
Right. And I don't either. So there's
Right.
no correcting you
Right.
there.
She won some slams and maybe something that ended with a ton, like a Wimbledon or.
There's so many things from the. It's not just like one. There's not just one Super Bowl for. There's like so many things in tennis to win, and I think they've each won like all of them at least like once.
Yeah. They had all the major titles and an Olympic medal in the same year, both of them.
Wow.
And I'm like, top of their game. Totally.
It's incredible. It really is. And, I think about like what kind of inspiration and motivation I can take from them. And I think the biggest one, honestly, is the fact that athletes in general, but the Williams sisters specifically, they have endured lots of health issues and lots of injuries. And I think of the days when I just can't get out of bed.
Right.
Like I wake up in the morning and something's kind of achy, or, I'm waking up with a headache and I'm just like, oh, I don't want to start my day. And then I'm thinking, do you know what they probably put their bodies through and what they push through?
Right.
Through training and competitions and winning through all of this. And then the thought like Serena had a child and then went right back into playing.
Yeah.
And it kind of, I mean, on a real surface level, it's for me, it's just kind of like reminding myself to just sometimes you have to just kind of push through. Not saying you should always push through pain.
Right.
You know, there's obviously limits, but for the most part, I think the mindset of never giving up, not letting your injuries define you.
Right.
And not letting motherhood define you as, well, now I'm a mom, so now I'm not an athlete. It's like, no, it's not one or the other.
Exactly.
You are both, and you can always be both. You could be more than that. And obviously for them, they're sisters and they're athletes. And another fun thing I had learned, did you know that they're part owners of the Miami Dolphins?
Yeah.
I did not know until I read that article.
Right?
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
It's really amazing.
I could be mistaken that they were the first women to do it, but they are definitely the very first African American women to have stakes in an NFL team. It's just like, yes, do it. Awesome.
Yes. That's
an example.
What I read as well. Yeah. And I mean, you think about like the work that goes into just running businesses. I think they've got some clothing lines, and it's like, oh yeah, you know, they have time to do all of that and be champions. So they're just incredibly inspiring. And I think we can all apply a little bit of their work ethics into our own lives, even if it's just sitting in front of a computer all day.
Right.
You know, it just kind of puts into perspective when we think something's a challenge. Like maybe we can work through that a little harder. And they are awe-inspiring.
Oh, yeah. And I think going forward, they're going to continue to be, because they're starting the fight for equal pay. And that, because they're icons, that will continue the conversation beyond tennis. So that is something to keep watching for those two. So if anybody's changing another game, it could be the Williams sisters with equality pay. It could be great.
Yes, absolutely. And talk about an uphill battle. But
wasn't one of the women's soccer teams doing that recently?
Yeah, Mia Hamm, I know, has been a big proponent of equal pay and comparing the women's soccer to the men's soccer. And I know there's more women that are fighting beyond Mia Hamm, but it's a conversation that's happening too.
It's great. It's a great time for it, because I think we're on a roll lately, right?
Right, exactly.
We are getting business done.
We got this to-do list, and we're just checking things off.
Yep. Fighting our way to the top, which actually, that leads me into our next discussion.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Oh, you did. See? I tried. I tried to be a little clever there. So
clever girl.
The next sport we're going to talk about, I personally find a little bit intimidating. That's roller derby. And we have a wonderful article written by Rebecca all about roller derby. Unfortunately, she couldn't be with us today. She had a little scheduling conflict, but I want to thank her for such an informative article. And she included some of her own personal experiences as part of a roller derby team. Now, I'll give you guys a little description. This is directly from the Women's Flat Track Derby Association website, and they just describe it as a fast-paced contact team sport that requires speed, strategy, and athleticism. The flat track version of the sport evolved in 2001 and has quickly grown to encompass more than 400 leagues worldwide. This is in large part due to the ease of setting up a flat track, as it can be done on any surface that is suitable for skating, such as skating rinks, basketball courts, parking lots, and even airplane hangars. The DIY spirit that drives the sport allows roller derby leagues to create their own unique identities and adapt their structures to reflect their local communities. So, yeah, I heard you kind of on there at the airplane hangars.
That would be so amazing. Like, sorry, the filmmaker in me just awoke for like half a second and went, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Especially like an abandoned airport hangar that nobody uses and having the girls DIY roller derby. Oh, that'd be cool. I've seen it on Gymnasium, so.
Why not even one with a plane in the hangar? You could totally go around a plane. That would be really cool,
That'd be so cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. So I think I had some initial first impressions about roller derby that were outdated.
Right.
I would say.
70s version.
Yeah. And I think Rebecca's article really helped clear up a lot of that for me, because she, was explaining about the clothing has evolved. It's not all banked tracks anymore. They're flat tracks, that sort of thing. But let me kind of gauge if you guys were familiar with this or not. Bonnie, did you know much about roller derby before this?
I've heard of it. I haven't gone to a match, but it's pretty big in Indianapolis. We've got a couple teams here. Yeah, and I've always seen them rolling around. They're at art fairs a lot, rolling around. The Naptown Roller Girls are usually here.
Yeah, very much so.
Very cool.
I even had him in one of my movies, actually. In Wigged Out, we had
nice.
We had 4 Naptown Roller Girls as extras to kind of like, add some flair of the scene. And I just love it when they're on set. They're all so cool.
Oh, that's cool. Have you ever played, Leah?
I have really thought about it, but for some odd reason, I don't like the idea of breaking my limbs. Yes. Every time I go, somebody breaks an arm or they break like a femur, and it's like, oh, you know what? I just don't heal as well. Like maybe if I was like in my early 20s, I would have had a different conversation. But I was approaching 40, and I went, stuff doesn't heal as fast anymore, but I would rock at it because I am a bigger lady, so I can block.
Yeah.
I can block and, team camaraderie. But I go to the games, I go to the Naptown games, and I go to the Circle City Socialites games. I need to go more often, but I have so much fun cheering them on. I love them. They have so much personality and uniqueness.
Mm-hmm. I was looking in my area to see if I had any local ones because I've never seen a game. Or race. We call it a race, right? Not a game
or a bout.
I should get clarification.
Either way,
bout. Okay.
Yeah,
about.
But then you sound Canadian.
About.
I'm going about.
I have. I've never seen a bout. And you're right. Now I'm going to keep thinking about
right. Exactly. You're welcome, Canada.
Yeah. Sorry, Canada.
We love you.
No offense. We do. No offense. You're a beautiful country. We're sorry.
Exactly.
But I did see that there is a league fairly close to me, about an hour away. And I think that I would probably love to play if I was good at skating. I'm not good at skating.
All right. Have you tried on 4 quad skates before, though?
That's the only way I tried.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
So I think there's a lot of things that you get scarred as a child and you just swear it off. And that's one of those things that every time I went to the skating rink, I could either not get myself propelled or I couldn't slow myself down. And I always fell. One time I almost broke my nose. I fell into someone's elbow and I thought, well, that's it from my face.
Oh, my beautiful face. No.
And it was painful too. I was pretty bruised. So, and that was just trying to skate, like holding my friend's hand so we didn't fall kind of thing. I mean, imagine where you're intentionally trying to like knock people out of the rink. It's like, okay. But I like the aggressive aspect of it. I think it's a good way to blow off some steam.
Oh, absolutely.
It looks just really, really invigorating and then also satisfying.
Yeah.
That's what I like about it.
I highly recommend going to a game in person because the person next to you will explain it to you as it's happening, and it's really quick to kind of pick up, but it's that environment, that feel. It's the same thing with any sport. I prefer seeing a live event than watching it on television. I dig it a lot more, but especially roller derby, when at any moment a girl can fly off the track and be in your lap.
Wow.
Because it happens. Yeah, there's actually like a strike zone where it's like, most likely if you are here, there will be, some skates coming your way.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
And that's a lot of the research I did online was saying that you have to see it in person.
You do. It's really awesome.
And now, I'm not sure, but is this one of the first sports we can say has always been a female-led sport? Or was there ever any male teams? I'm trying to figure out if I don't think I read anything about that.
There was in the 70s. In the 70s, there was male teams and female teams, but that's also when it was banked. It was a different sport. The resurgence that came in the 2000s, it was brought back by women for women. So
Nice.
you're not wrong.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There are some co-ed teams now,
There are.
but I don't think I've heard of any male teams.
Right. I
strictly.
know they're trying to, but you're right. I haven't heard of any either.
Interesting. The co-ed thing sounds really kind of complicated in a way.
I think it'd be fun.
I'm trying to think about like a guy elbowing a woman and it like
And it being okay? It's equality.
yeah.
We need to get there.
All part of the
Yeah.
development.
Because, give and take, give and take.
That's right. That's right. So, the last question I want to ask about roller derby is, what would your team name be if you had your own league?
Did you think of
Who
one,
wants to
Bonnie?
go first?
I did not.
You
but
blanked on
would,
it?
It would have to be some amazing puns, because that's my favorite part about roller derby is all the
Yes.
pun names. Like Hermione Danger
Yes.
and Katniss
Oh,
Evermean,
Uh-huh.
Holly Go Bite Me,
Uh-huh.
50 Shades of Mayhem. Like, I love the puns.
The names
That's incredible.
are beautiful.
And I'm going to be honest with you. I mostly asked this question because I know Leah is awesome with puns, and I secretly wanted to hear what she was going to come up with.
Okay.
This was a very selfish reasoning.
Maybe this is my calling. Maybe I just need to come up with roller derby names
Yeah.
because this was too much fun. So the first one, actually, for the team name, the first one I thought of was Spaceballs the Roller Derby. But, licensing,
I love
I
it.
think licensing might be, I don't think Mel Brooks would be too happy with that. So I came up with
Yeah.
the Galactic Glamazons.
Ooh.
Believe it or not, that is not actually a derby team because I looked it up once I was so proud of myself.
It is now.
Right? We are the Galactic Glamazons, right? And then
We already have our artwork too.
I know, right?
You're like
Oh,
80s
lovely.
space,
be so
80s
cool.
glam.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I know, right? Oh, it'd be the perfect tape. And I even, because I had thought about this a couple of times, there's 2 different derby names that I have for myself. One of them I don't really like that much. I got it off a BuzzFeed quiz, so does it really count? Not really. But it's Joan Jetpack.
Okay.
And the other one, because I'm Buddhist and I love how the sport is camaraderie, but it's also beating each other up, I would change from Siddhartha, which was the Buddha's real name, to Siddhartha.
Nice.
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant.
Right? There's a lot of layers there, and it's still a pun. So Siddhartha would probably be my derby name on
Oh, geez.
the Galactic Glamazons. I'll be here all week.
Leah, I knew you wouldn't disappoint. I knew
I
it.
took this with as much fortitude and practice energy as I believe Serena Williams does.
You are the Serena Williams of puns.
Thank you very much. I'm getting that on a t-shirt now.
So mine was pretty lame because right off the bat, I'm like, I always think about my cats and how I can employ
Yes.
cat puns and everything because they're awesome. And I immediately went to cat scratch coasters, and then I was like,
I like
but
it.
am I giving a bad stereotype to girls only fight?
No.
Cat fight.
No.
you know?
Because you can play with it. You take something and you turn it on its head and you give it new meaning. It's like, you take a stereotype away and you empower it.
Yeah,
I like it.
And the only other one I could think of was the stitching bruisers. Gonna give you some stitches, and we're gonna bruise you.
Yes.
Just fully hardcore. We're coming in ready to fight. There's nothing cute about this name at all.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Powerful.
Yeah.
I dig it.
yep. But I think the Galactic. What was it?
Galactic Glamazons.
Glamazon.
Nice.
Wow.
Because I love my Wonder
That's-
Woman stuff, so I'm like Amazon,
Mhm.
Glamazon.
Mhm. Yeah, I was playing with the idea of something with goddess. I was like the goddess gang, and
Right.
I was like,
Almost.
something in that. Yeah, but
Right.
the Glamazon that really works, and it fits our podcast theme too.
It kind of does.
Our style. I like.
Now we
it.
just need people who can skate.
Oh yeah, that totally forgot about that.
Right, exactly. Well, you know what? We're going to look fierce in the costumes, though.
So, can either of you skate? Are you neither of you good skaters?
I can skate. I can't do
Okay.
I don't know about beating people up as I skate.
Right.
But I can skate in a circle.
Okay. Leah, can you?
I can.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I can skate on on quad skates. The stopper, what I still refer to as the toe pick because I saw Cutting Edge. I'm not that good. Like I stopped too fast.
Oh,
So I
okay.
can't control the slowing down part.
Okay. I haven't tried since childhood, and I feel like maybe I should get back into that.
You might nail it.
I mean, who knows? I mean, my husband's a really good rollerblader, so maybe I'll
See?
maybe I'll get some skates and I'll have to paint them up with some Galactic Glamazon
Absolutely.
artwork or something.
Yeah. Put like a
Sparkly
David
colors.
Bowie lightning bolt on there and you're good.
And I will remind myself that Serena Williams had a child and went right back to winning,
Mhm.
and that I can still try to skate.
There you go. I like it.
It's all perspective. All right. Well, now it's time to talk time travel gals. And today we're traveling about as far back as you can get. We're going all the way back to the early history of Olympic women. And Leah, you did a really fascinating bit of research on the ancient Olympics and women's participation, or I guess you could say lack thereof. There wasn't much.
Right.
There was a lot of great facts about the history that I actually never knew. For example, the ancient Olympics started in 776 BC as a religious festival to honor Zeus. But the only athletes were, surprise, free Greek males.
Mhm.
Not only were women not allowed to play, they weren't even permitted to attend the games.
Boo.
Can you honestly imagine not being allowed to even watch a sport?
I'm too rebellious to even imagine this.
I'm sure if you snuck in.
Yeah. hmm
It's utterly insane.
Oh yeah. I just go
It
to
had to be
Jurassic
very
Park
limited
like
then.
nature finds a way.
Little Jeff Goldblum in there.
always.
Rawr. So, Leah, what was your favorite bit of trivia or information that you learned from your research?
I had no idea that there was the Games of Hera. I really didn't know that going in. I just kind of, how far back can I go with women's history when it is related to the Olympics? And I just kind of kept digging. And when I found the Games of Hera, I was absolutely smitten and amazed by it.
Mm-hmm.
Another bit of information that I loved that existed, let alone that I found it, was the Kaniska. And I hope I'm saying it right because my Greek is really bad. She was the king of Sparta's daughter. And she found a loophole in the Olympic Games, the one where women weren't even allowed to watch, because there was the competition for chariot owners. And our gal owned a chariot.
Oh, nice.
Mhm. So she competed in 396 BC, won many a time, and not only that, but opened the door for more than a dozen more female chariot owners to also win. So I love her.
Nice.
See, nature finds a way.
The first Galactic Glamazon.
Yes, there you go.
Leave it to the ladies to find the
Perfect.
loophole.
That's right.
You can't fool us, guys.
We're-
you free Greek males.
We're really good at paperwork and loopholes. I'm just saying.
Yes. Bonnie, how about you? Anything that you found fascinating?
Well, I minored in classical studies, and I didn't know a whole lot of this. But
Oh, nice.
I thought it was interesting that the women competed. I know they had a shorter toga, but I didn't know that it had one breast exposed.
Isn't that classy?
And I was like,
Yeah.
why? Like, I wasn't sure if it was some homage to the Amazon warriors would have one breast out, or if it was some kind of sports bra thing, like to keep them from hitting each other.
Right? No, I see what you're saying. I like the physics there.
So I was like, but why?
Thinking the logistics, yes.
Mhm.
I also wondered if, because the women weren't allowed at the Olympics, were men allowed at the Games of Hera?
Right. I think that was,
Ooh.
it was brought up
Ooh.
and there wasn't really an answer that I could find because dun 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 dun. Ah.
Interesting. I could imagine they either were too insulted to want to watch it because they thought it was silly and frivolous of those women to, how dare you want to play and participate, or they did want to show up just because, there's women with one breast hanging out.
Exactly. And these are possible ladies to marry. I mean,
yes, that's true.
It's like Tinder, basically running around a track with one boob hanging out.
Wait, ancient Greek Tinder, BC Tinder.
That's what I'm saying.
I think my favorite bit of trivia is that there hasn't been an Olympic year yet that there still isn't a first record for women.
Isn't that amazing?
It's kind of it's if you have to almost read that like 3 times to let it wrap around and sink into your brain.
Yeah.
Because it seems like, how is that still possible? But of course it is.
It is.
There's so much ground to break through still, but I loved that. I loved that bit. And it makes it more exciting to want to watch the Olympics, truthfully, every time they're on.
I do kind of think that's partly why I watch, is what records are going to be broken? What feat of humanity, men and women, are we going to excel at, even more in this year? You know what I mean? Because, I was even excited with, like, Usain Bolt breaking all of the records in track and field. It's like, how fast can a human person run? It's just, to me, it's the feat of humanity. We're still seeing it. But also, the gals are still getting their due. Like, it's the first time in a certain sport. You know what I mean? It's the first time with a record, and it's we still got a lot to go, and it's one way to kind of judge it. Like, where are we at?
Right. And you also mentioned that as far as the modern Olympics, which I believe they started in 1896.
Yes.
That women still weren't included until 4 years later.
Yeah, not till the 1900s were the girls allowed to play.
If you think about it, from the BC era all the way till the 1900s, things kind of moved at a snail's pace for women.
Kind of did.
And when you think about from 1900 until today, it's warp speed.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible. Yes, there's still so much to accomplish. There's so much to do. And I think obviously one of the big things being the pay gaps for athletes, which is just, it's silly that we even have to talk about this still.
Right.
But when you compare this short time period to millennia, it's amazing how far we've come since 1900.
I think
that's fascinating.
And I think we're still trying to keep up with it. You know what I mean? It's kind of, we're always like, where are we at now? Okay, we're there. We still got to get forward. But we're going very far, very fast. And there's many times where I feel like it's not fast enough. So it's a paradox.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that those times when we're having these conversations that seem like, why do we still have to discuss to be being paid equally? It seems like this shouldn't even be a thing anymore. It is important to also, cut ourselves some slack and remember how far we have come.
Right, exactly.
In a short time, I try to think back to like my grandmother's time, like when she was in her 20s and 30s and she was in the height of trying to have a career or being expected to just be, staying at home and think about how different just 3 generations back or 4 generations back had it compared to now.
Oh, yeah.
And how probably very few female athletes that they had to be inspired by or to even know that was a possibility for them.
Right. If you see it, you can be it.
Yeah, exactly. And to think that they had no idea that those opportunities could even be a possibility. And now we know that we can pretty much question that everything. We can question that all of this is a possibility for us, no matter what. That's awesome.
I used to always think growing up, my great grandmother had basically 3 career options: a teacher, a nurse, or a mom. And then through the generations, it came down to me where I could really be anything I set my mind to, including president of the United States. And you know what? I wasn't equipped for that. Because how do you teach that generation? I had 3 options, but you have all of it. Now choose wisely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is a very difficult leap. And so that's why it's like many steps forward, but at the same time, it's preparing to have those choices and those opportunities. What do you do? Sometimes you panic and do nothing. And that's a viable option because the world's open to you. What if you choose the wrong thing? Oh, no.
Yeah. Talk about decision fatigue.
Yes,
right?
pretty much. Yeah. So I think that's part of the dynamic of it. That's why if you can see it, you can be it. If you see somebody else do something and go, man, I could do that, or I see myself doing that, or I want to try to see if I could do that, I think it helps with the world being so wide open.
Yes, absolutely. And it's not even about like how high you can set the bar. It's just putting the bar in place, period.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So I'd like to ask both of you, if you could win a gold medal in any Olympic sport, it doesn't matter if you're good at it or if you think you could or not, which would it be? Bonnie, would you like to go first?
Petting the most dogs.
Oh,
Oh,
I like it.
that's,
I didn't
oh
know
my
that was
gosh,
an
I love
option.
it.
Oh,
Bonnie.
it is now. That's my everyday life.
she says
Beautiful.
so. Remember?
I'm down with it. Glamazon, you do that.
How about you, Leah?
Mine's very silly, but I would love to win a gold medal in archery because I love the movie Brave, and I just want to say archery as many times as I can. Plus, then it would be that, oh, you have a gold medal. What did you win it for? Archery. Like, I don't think anybody would. Just sounded good. Isn't that dumb?
No, there's no dumb answer.
I didn't think of petting dogs.
Yeah.
Such a good answer.
Yeah, like now I'm like, gosh, now I should change mine. Should be like, is there like petting dogs and cats and like bunny rabbits? Can I do all of that?
See? Perhaps.
I'm actually gonna go with gymnastics.
Oh, nice.
Simply because they are my favorite to watch.
Yeah.
I get mesmerized by just the insane things that they are capable of doing. And I can't even do a cartwheel, but I have an appreciation for the sport. So
I like it. No, they are some inspiring ladies. Every single Olympics. I always want to say every single year. I have to always remember.
I know.
Olympics are every 4 years.
Yep. I kept catching myself too. I know. 4 years.
Right.
Okay, so lastly, it's time for some deep space exploration. This is where we're going to explore some bonus content. Our subject is gals in sports films. Yes. So it wasn't too hard to find a massive selection of sports titles that are basically centered around male athletes. We've got dramas like Rocky and Rudy, and goofball comedies like Dodgeball and Talladega Nights, like the Super Silly. But we want to dig a little deeper into films that put the gals in the lead. The selection is limited, but it's awesome to see that these films are embracing strong females who take the lead rather than sit in the sidelines. So I found an article from bustle.com, and it's titled 18 Female-Led Sports Movies That Will Inspire You to Play to Win. So there's a pretty impressive selection of movies on here. Obviously, there's only 18 of them compared to probably hundreds of sports movies about guys.
Right. They did it very good, though. I really liked the 18.
I was impressed.
Varied
Yeah,
sports, too.
Yeah, absolutely. I was pretty impressed, and there was some on there that I hadn't considered, but I'd like to know, Bonnie, what was your favorite on the list?
I'd have to go with A League of Their Own.
Yeah.
That one's, and it was filmed here in Indiana and down in Evansville.
Aw, that's great. How about you, Leah?
It's the same answer, League of Their Own. When I saw that film when I was young, it was the first time that I realized that Penny Marshall was the director because she was on Entertainment Tonight. And I was watching Entertainment Tonight wanting to be a filmmaker. So they actually interviewed her because, she was on Laverne and Shirley. And I'm like, wait, women direct? Because I thought I needed to be an actress or a writer because that's what I saw. And I saw her direct Tom Hanks and Gina Davis and Madonna, who was huge. And I'm like, that's a job. So actually A League of Their Own for a variety of reasons. But because she showed me, because I saw it and then I wanted to be it. I almost said bought it. So I was trying to rhyme it. But no, that movie means everything to me. I love that movie.
Yeah, I have to go with A League of Their Own as well. I mean, how can you not? And I think a big part of it for me is also that this was taking place during a really, really hard time in our country. I mean, this is people trying to lift spirits during World War II.
Yeah.
People being separated from their loved ones and women getting to take the lead. And, obviously they were still treated like, oh, you're just a girl baseball team. But there's something so sweet about it, and the teamwork aspect, which was huge. And I think the biggest thing is the cast is phenomenal. And Penny Marshall, I mean, how awesome is that? Tom Hanks is awesome in everything he does, but Tom Hanks and Madonna?
Yeah.
What? Like, how is that even possible? But I actually rewatched the trailer because I don't actually happen to have this movie. And
it's totally worth owning. I had to buy it a couple years ago because I'm like, why do I not own this movie?
Well, that's like going to be my movie night this weekend, because I was watching the trailer and I'm like, I haven't seen this in so long. I still remember it. Like, even watching the trailer, it kind of emotionally hits you.
It does.
But I was like, I have to watch this again because it's such a great movie. And even if you watch it not because of the sports, the story, the relationships is so sweet. It's so beautiful.
It holds up. It's a timeless movie. Yeah.
Yes. And it probably helps because it's a time period. It's a period piece, if you will. So
yep.
I will say I do have a little runners up on there, and it's just simply because I think it's fun and it's funny. It's She's the Man.
I saw that, and I didn't see that movie, but I saw that trailer, and I'm like, wait a minute, this looks actually really interesting. How did I miss this one?
Yeah.
Is it good?
So it's really cute. I think it's very funny. And it's actually based on Shakespeare's Twelfth Night.
Oh, I like it when they do that.
So you have like the the mixed up genders, and everyone's confused at who's who, and this one's falling in love with this one, but this person's actually this person, and the whole story though centers around there's two twins and a guy and a girl, and I cannot remember their names, but Amanda Bynes plays the lead, and she just wants to play soccer. Like, she's not asking for much. She just wants to be on a soccer team.
Right.
And she poses as her brother so she can get on a guy's soccer team in college. And then all of the relationship hilarities ensue, all that kind of stuff. But it's a really fun, cute movie. It certainly is not going to have the, like tugging on your heartstrings like A League of Their Own or anything like that. But it's a fun, like, pizza and a movie kind of night.
You need
those.
Cute. You absolutely need those. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So are there any on the list that you haven't seen that you would like to check out?
Did you have anybody?
Oh, I had Whip It and She's the Man, because I was like, I grew up in the 90s when Amanda Bynes was like the thing, and I'm like, how did I not see this movie?
Did they not advertise it that much? Was it just a limited?
I totally would have seen it.
I know, that's why I'm wondering what happened to it. Yeah,
I never watched it in the theaters. I just caught it. I think it was maybe like in Netflix or something like that. It was also one of Channing Tatum's first roles.
Yeah, because I saw him in the trailer.
Young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, for me, the two that jumped out that I really want to see, Offside. It was the Iranian film about the woman who wasn't allowed to watch the soccer match, the World Cup soccer match. Fascinating. Want to see that. And for some odd reason, with my Katharine Hepburn love, I've actually never seen Pat and Mike. That was out of print when I was in my Katharine Hepburn watching Spencer Tracy is also in it phase. And I have not seen Pat and Mike. Yeah.
Yes, some of those older films, I was impressed that they even existed. Like, I never had heard of them before. And I feel like I've got a long list of movies that I have to check out now.
I know, it's such a problem.
I know. Poor us. But I think the one I want to see the most is Whip It.
It's so good, you guys. I've seen it. It's fabulous. Watch it.
Yes. I had a funny feeling,
actually. Yeah. So that's why I went out and rushed to see it. So I love Drew.
The lady from Juno.
Yes.
I'm very excited to see that.
Kristen Wiig, which is like awesome. Juliette Lewis, I think, is in it.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, this is a great cast.
Oh, yeah.
And I just liked that I just now this week got to learn so much about roller derby. So I was like, no, this is like the perfect timing that I need to go check this movie out. And who's not going to be a fan of Drew Barrymore, and especially if she's directing.
And in it. Yep. Perfect.
Yeah, so I've got a couple movies on the list to watch this week.
Yay!
So it's a good problem.
Love that.
So it's about time to wrap up. So before we do, I want to ask if either of you have a favorite athlete that inspires you in life. Bonnie, would you like to go
I keep
first?
going first. I wrote down.
Well, if you want to swap, if you can swap,
No,
if you want,
that's fine.
I don't mind.
I wrote down all the young women in the Larry Nassar case, because to have to deal with that
Wow.
and still perform and to like tell people that this is happening to you and have them not believe you, and then they got the chance to go in court, and that amazing judge made them tell every single one of their stories. It was so inspiring.
It was powerful.
Yes.
Really powerful.
Love it.
Yeah.
Can I change my answer?
I
course
also
you
wrote
can.
down the if we needed like a real specific one. I really liked in the Rio Games, there was a Chinese lady swimmer who didn't know she won, and it's on YouTube, and she's like, and I just got my period today. It was so amazing.
Oh, I love that.
I have to check that out.
Oh,
That sounds
so
great.
adorable. Just off the cup. Like, that's character right there. She's like, I am who I am.
Oh, I love that. But yes, Leah, of course you can change your answer. It's not like I would have known.
No, I will stick to my gut, because I did think about it for a while, and I picked Serena Williams, and I love her, and she's powerful, she's bold, she's unbelievably talented at what she does, and she plays like she's got everything to prove. And I think I love that energy that comes off of her. And I really do think she's going to change the game in more ways than one. So I've been watching her for the last couple of years. So I had to go with that. But I like Bonnie's answers.
Yes. No, you can't really top either of those. And yeah, it's incredible. I love both answers. A+.
Yay! Gold stars.
What did you pick?
I picked Misty Copeland.
Good one.
Who is, she's the principal dancer for the American Ballet Theater. And I don't even know where to start. Misty is basically, she was a prodigy, essentially. She started dance at 13.
Wow.
And for those who are unfamiliar, that's late.
Yeah.
That is very, very late to start dance. I started at 3.
Yeah.
Hated it because I didn't like that my mommy wasn't able to stay with me in class.
These are 3-year-old problems.
Right, 3-year-old problems. And then around 6 years old, I said, I want to dance, and I was ready. And so I had basically been dancing since the age of 6. I'd say around that time is pretty common, but to start at 13 and within a year go professional is just incredible. And this is a girl who also was already battling the uphill battles of financial challenges, race challenges. She was not your typical little ballerina. And she was told that by so many people as well. And now in 2015, she was promoted to principal dancer. She's the first African-American woman to be promoted in their 75-year history of the American Ballet Theater. She is the first.
Go on, girl.
And
love it.
It took till 2015. But all I can say, because there's no way I could really do any justice for her, I'm a big fan of dance. I had an injury years ago that basically stopped me in my tracks. And it's hard because I don't get to dance anymore. And I'm able to kind of live vicariously through watching other dancers. And it's hard because sometimes it's emotional for me because I can still kind of feel that excitement and that passion watching them.
Oh, I can understand that.
Yeah, and it is hard sometimes. But I will say that when I watch her, I feel nothing but happiness. And like what more could you get? Like that's and I'm sure that that's what she wants too. I mean, she's a performer and an athlete. But all you got to do is Google some of her performances, and That's all I have to say.
She's
Like, enough
amazing.
said.
Yes, no, absolutely. I concur.
She's incredible, and she's working hard to push the boundaries and break the stereotypes and pave the way for girls of all colors to be able to be a part of ballet.
And she has a couple of books out too, doesn't she?
She does, and I think there's a wonderful documentary about her. It might still be on Netflix. Highly recommend watching it. And I'm telling you, like we were talking about the injuries that the Williams sisters have fought through.
Right.
You should see some of dancers put their bodies through unbelievable
They really do.
trauma.
Yeah.
And some of the back pains and the issues with her feet, and then she just gets out there and dances and she looks like she floats.
Right. I know. That's amazing.
And it really is amazing. And so that kind of comes back to the same thing about just finding that motivation and like, look what she can accomplish. I can get out of bed today.
Right? Exactly. If she
You know
can
what
do
I
it, I
mean?
can do it. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, I think we all pick some really great, inspiring women.
Absolutely.
So now it's time to wrap things up. I'd like to know if you guys have any fun things you'd like to update us on. Leah, do you have anything exciting going on these days you'd like to share?
Your Gal Friday is also partaking in Sports Month as well. And so we're going to be going into the life and legacy of three amazing gals from various sports. We're going to cover Janet Guthrie, who is the first woman in NASCAR and IndyCar. Babe Dickerson Zalaris, who basically did everything. That's the way that I kind of like paraphrase her. She was an Olympian in 1932. She was a basketball player, a baseball player. She was a golfer, and she also started the LPGA. Just saying. So she's amazing.
Nice.
She does all the sports. And then the last one we're going to do of the season, actually, because this is the last three of our season, is Conchita Cinron. She is a badass bullfighter. She is known as the goddess of the bull ring. Her tale is one of rebellion that usually ends with, and then she killed the bull. Which I
Wow.
adore. And Orson Welles was a huge fan of hers as well. So, three exciting ladies to talk about. Very excited about a bullfighter.
Awesome. More great time travel gals.
Yes, absolutely.
I love it. And I would have never thought of bullfighting. That's
know.
crazy.
I wanted to think outside
Love
the
that.
box. I mean, especially because we had Babe who did everything. You know what I'm saying? So Babe covered a lot of sports. I'm like, all right, so what if there's some listeners that are like, you know what? I really don't care about sports. Let's just,
Right.
what else can we think of? And so I'm like, I wonder if there's a bullfighter.
Fantastic. Well, I will look forward to hearing all of those.
Yay.
Bonnie, how about you? Anything exciting going on right now?
I'm wrapping up my women's history calendar. So I'm still taking pre-orders in my Etsy shop. And I've got like 30 different little projects I'm working on. So there should be just a explosion of new art to share soon.
Excellent. And it is gorgeous. Everybody, I encourage you to go out to the Kickstarter and check it out. It is a beautiful calendar.
Yes.
Looking forward to that.
It is her superpower.
Yes, it is her sport.
Exactly.
They
I love
had
it.
art in the Olympics in the very when they reintroduced it, but I don't remember any women being in the art category.
Dun, 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 dun. They need to bring it back.
Did they have? I remember there was like painting and maybe sculpture. I'm like, did they have like speed painting?
Right, was it
Like,
speed
what's
painting?
the-
Yeah, or accuracy?
I don't know
or
how they judged it.
Interesting. Oh, that'd be fun.
Interesting. Bonnie, where can everybody reach you?
My website is bonniefillenwarth.com, and it's FILLENWARTH. It goes on forever. I'm on
It's not that bad.
all the social media stuff. And Bonnie
Excellent.
Fillenwarth. Yep.
Leah, how about you?
I am at Dr. Leah Leach, and Leach is spelled Leach, unlike the Robin Leach guy.
Wonderful. And you can find me on Twitter at Geek Chic Lisa. And we'd love to hear from you, listeners. Let us know your favorite gal athletes using the hashtag #GalChampions. For all the articles discussed today, as well as some inspirational sports quotes, please visit galsguide.org. And until next time, thanks for listening.
For more exploration, including show notes and links, visit galsguide.org. Add your voice to the discussion on Twitter at Gals Guide Galaxy. Support our mission by becoming one of our Patreon members. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to Gals Guide to the Galaxy. Thank you for listening. Returning you to Earth in 3, 2, 1.